What are some not so obvious signs that someone has deep sadness? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Yeah, this one hits home. Like, I'll ask you about your life and want to know the details all day and get super excited about how you're living life. It might seem like I'm the same because of how supportive I am about your life. But the reality is, I want to hear about your life more than I want to share mine. It's so simply lonely with my life that I hate anything that shares anything deeper than, "How was your day?" Yes, you can know about what I made for dinner or a plan to go shopping. But that's it, because that's all there is. And this is the real reason why I don't want or have friends. I can't bear to show someone how lonely my life is. I think I like it that way. I'd rather not open up to someone about my troubles or how I'm truly feeling because it hurts on such a deep level I would feel bad sharing. This is a feeling I know very well. My therapist taught me the bean trick. In the morning, put some dried beans in one pocket. Every time something nice happens, move a bean into the pocket on the other side. In the evening, you'll look at the beans and remember the good things that happened during the day. The nice things don't have to be big. They can be a good cup of coffee or someone compliments your shoes or you see a cute dog. In the beginning, there might not be many big moments, but you'll start to notice them more and more because it's not that they don't happen. Depression makes us focus on and magnify everything bad but ignore the good things or think that they don't count because the trick isn't magic, but it helped me a bit with negative self-talk. What helped me most is learning how depression distorts your perception, negative self-talk, catastrophizing, etc. through therapy. Please consider it. Story 2. Anybody can hide sadness. A heart for the world. A heart for our family and friends. A heart for ourselves. I hid it for 16 years, and my family and friends would tell you I was the strongest person they ever met. I lost both parents after caring for them, lost my siblings to mental health, took care of my nephews and niece. But the mask began to crack after my dad died. One side of my family are nuts, but the other side is affluent and wealthy. They were so proud of how I turned the cheek and got on with things. I learned when people think you are strong, they expect strong, and anything else is a disappointment. Story 3. Speaking from a certain level of personal experience, being angry and making hateful comments is a common sign, so is diving into extremist ideology. Hurt people, and to quote Christian Picciolini, a former skinhead, show compassion to those who deserve it the least because they're the ones who need it the most. Obviously, there are limits to that, but generally if someone comes off as bitter, angry, hateful, extremist, or anything under those lines, I at least pity them inside because I know that they're a sad, angry person who, for whatever reason, feels the need to lash out at others. Maybe this is a more obvious sign than I thought, but it's still worth saying in my opinion. 100% I've found when I'm struggling a lot inside, I tend to come off more irritable and angered at little things. Story 4. Deep compassion. People who have truly suffered live in a different world to those whose biggest problem is finding the perfect genes. I used to get irritated at the smallest things. Then the universe spent 7 years showing me hell. The robot has been green for 2 full seconds, and the guy in front of me hasn't moved yet? No problem. A million small things a day that would irritate me I no longer even register. If someone is rude, I wonder what is causing them suffering. I see photos of me from 7 years ago. I don't recognize that person at all. Story 5. Sometimes people who are always clowning around and trying to make other people laugh are miserable themselves. I think they don't want anyone else to feel as bad as they do. They've also often got low self-esteem and think everyone will hate them or that bad things will happen, like their parents fighting and divorcing for example, if they aren't constantly putting on an entertaining performance to keep everyone happy. They don't think anybody will like the real them and that people around them only like them because they're funny and for as long as they're funny. Low self-esteem for sure. I would poise that instead of the fear of people hating them is that they want everyone to like them. As a chucklehead, myself, I crave love. I give love and understanding as my creed. I'm empathetic to anyone in pain. As an armchair historian and anthropologist, it's pain through and through. I don't joke like I used to. I do talk with people on the phone every day and care for them and give a God bless even though I'm an atheist. I believe in love. I'll no longer end my emails with sincerely since it has lost meaning. Who in this world should I not feel love and compassion for? Story 6. Difficulty in initiating action. Even to send a simple email, Similarly, even if the gym is just 100 meters away, to go there requires a lot of effort. Doing laundry, list goes on and on. If I have complete kitchen with everything perfect with all vegetables, I will keep deferring cooking. Starting something is very difficult. If it's started, one can complete it, but the main issue is to take step one. Most normal people don't understand this. Story 7. When people don't really stick up for themselves or just agree with things that don't benefit them, usually because it comes from feeling like you deserve to be walked on. I have been very sad for most of my life. There are times when I have had periods of happiness, but I'd say 80% of it has been existential dread. I throw up in the mornings because I don't want to go outside or to work. I go to a bar on my way home because I don't want to be at home. I give up on relationships easily. I get very sad when people ghost me or change plans. It sucks, but I usually never stand up for myself. I have the appearance of being very confident, but I let people treat me like all the time. Because I deserve it. Thankfully, the only reason I haven't offed myself yet is twofold. It would make my family too happy, and secondly, I gave a senior dog in a wheelchair who is still pretty healthy and he needs me. Story 8. I went through the most depressing part of my life back in 2016. Death in the family, divorce, work issues, etc. all hit me at once, not to mention all of the problems I caused myself due to the toxic way I tried to cope. But man, I made so many new friends, became the life of the party, talked to anyone and everyone at the local bar that I adopted and usually had them laughing up a storm. I was the absolute saddest and most depressed I have ever been, but I gave off so much outward joy, camaraderie with my new friends, and levity that I even convinced myself that I was living in the best time of my life. I wasn't. Thank God I survived. It was a few years of various levels of this new me. Once I went back and started correcting the mistakes, misfortunes, and the other roots of my sorrow, I realized that the deflection I was doing didn't do me or my problems any good. And I finally was able to feel those terrible emotions with no filter head on. It was incredibly hard to face my own faults, but only after very painfully admitting to myself that I wasn't okay was I able to start crawling back up the steep hill of self-improvement. Story 9. Agreeing to go somewhere or do something and then bowing out at or near the time to go. When deeply depressed, I could feel a little stronger and want to do what was discussed. When the time came though, I just didn't have the energy required. Sometimes I got dressed and ready, but when walking toward the front door, I collapsed in a chair feeling I barely had enough energy to breathe. Another subtle sign is that the depressed person stops reaching out to friends. It's not from not wanting contact, but depressed people sink into isolation. Again, it's the energy thing, plus feeling I just burden others and drag them down. Story 10. Deep sadness is felt by a lot of people in response to a loss. A woman I know lost a child and now has almost creepy, realistic dolls to hold as a crib for the dolls. She told me she has to have them, so I know she has deep sadness. But sometimes deep sadness is really apathy. Then you see some of the symptoms others have mentioned. Less time spent on personal care. Stop cleaning your house or empty. Stop going out. I'm talking deeper than laziness, rather just not caring. Then the ideas mentioned by others might help. Deep sadness, I don't know what to do about that because I think it usually is related to a major loss of some kind. And we all deal with loss in our own way. The woman I mentioned is fully functional and good-hearted. I'd never known she had deep sadness unless I'd seen the dolls and crib and asked about them. Then I knew she had deep sadness and why. And there's not a damn thing I can do to help with that. Story 11. I've had depression since I was around 8. You can see it when you read my diaries. I was diagnosed around 14, 30 now, and still dealing with it. I've also been so confident, so optimistic, such a light, so strong for someone your age. Like, yo, I'm struggling and I can't bring myself to bring anyone down to my level. It isn't anyone's fault, but it is a tough thing to reveal and tougher to deal with. It's also hard being someone seeing these signs and not knowing when to bring it up, if at all. One thing that always makes me sad is when people say only hurt people, hurt people. I'm trying so hard to not drag anyone down with me, and that sucks to hear. Story 12. Everyone expresses it differently. I was exposed to a lot of traumatic as a teenager. Something happened to me, and I had so much rage over it that I felt like I had a duty almost to take out my anger on the kinds of people that hurt me. For the sake of not giving off the wrong idea, The people I was targeting were the most vile, universally hated individuals on the planet. I did it from when I was 14 to 21. I didn't want to tell my parents because the severity of what I was doing and what I saw was so bad that I felt like they wouldn't understand. I'm 22 now. I only stopped doing it about a year and a half ago. After time and therapy, I began to realize how bad things had gotten for me. I hated life. I wanted to die every day. And the only thing that kept me going day to day was how much I hated the people I was targeting. The worst part is even now, I'm struggling to adjust to the idea of living my life because I want to, and not because I am so overcome with hatred and spite. The one thing that never changed, though, was my personality. I was always a joker. I have always been really quick-witted with making jokes. I always had a habit of making jokes when I'm uncomfortable, and none of that ever changed. The things I felt were internal and didn't manifest through my behavior. None of my friends knew. My girlfriend didn't know, although she didn't know me before I started. The only people who could tell that something was wrong was my parents. One thing that helped a lot, though, was just talking to people. Not even about what I was doing, just talking in general. Invite your friends out for dinner or to watch a sports game and talk about whatever. If you think something is wrong, ask. If they seem defensive, don't push. Just tell them, well, you know, I'm always there for you if you need to talk. The thing I think a lot of people don't understand is if people don't want to talk about something going on, being pushed to talk about it only makes the defensiveness worse. That said, though, being reminded that people care about them and are willing to talk helps an awful lot. Story 13. A serene demeanor. It feels like nothing can shake them or make them angry. Everyone tells me I'm the most chill person they know. They mistake it for happiness or peace of mind. Truthfully, I'm just so dead inside that I don't have the energy to get upset anymore. I have no dreams, ambitions, or goals, just coasting through. Some people say I'm calm, or I've also gotten hard to read, or that I have no emotions. Really, I am full of anxiety and purposefully have a lot of walls up to prevent people from really seeing the roller coaster of emotions I experience every day. Story 14. Noise sensitivity. You notice the TV is on, but the sound is turned down or off. They stopped listening to the radio in the car. The sound of cars driving past the house were not noticed before and now so loud. The combination of too many everyday sounds at once, the doorbell ringing as the timer on the oven chimes while the neighbor is chatting and the dog barks, it's just too much and they're out the door. Story 15. Pausing. Basically almost dissociating. Sometimes someone will just stop doing something as if all energy has been sucked out in a millisecond. Like they'll be chatting, then the next second they kind of mentally check out, then check back in. Or they'll be walking, then just stop for a sec for no reason in particular, then keep going almost immediately or after a long pause. It's almost like they just kind of want to stop existing for a sec, I don't know. But it's so quick or subtle to the point it's kind of hard to notice unless you really observe them.